Hi guys, welcome back to another episode. I want to do a number of small projects today because I think next episode, we might be not in the Empire here for probably another 5-10 episodes even. So I want to there's a few things I want to clean up before we head elsewhere. So, project number one is probably going to be the portal. I think I would like to move the portal over there. And then project number two might be getting some sort of road in here. I would like it to kind of meander from the portal along here and then in front of the wall. Then eventually I want to put some sort of like courtyard, maybe a marketplace, maybe a just kind of a fountain area there in front of the gates. I might actually move it over here so it's more in front of like the wall instead of in front of the gates. Reason being is medieval, this is supposed to be kind of a somewhat of an interpretation of a medieval castle, and so some of the defensive stuff that is in place for medieval castles we're trying to keep in mind. And one of those things is you don't necessarily want to have a huge, broad avenue that just goes straight up to the gate. The less space that the defenders give attackers to be able to bring like a battering ram in to try to break through the gates, the better. So that's kind of why I'm thinking maybe we move like a courtyard over here, and then we have something here to try to prevent attackers from being able to bring in like a big battering ram to try to break through our gate. So that's kind of the plan for that. I probably won't get to that this episode. In fact, I'm almost entirely sure I won't get to a courtyard out here today. But plans. The other big thing that I want to get to is this. We've had this dirt circle here for quite a while. I don't know if I've talked much, if at all, about this, but I think this is going to be a lore build. So we're going to talk about the lore of the area. I want to talk about how this empire was first created, who, basically the origins of this area. I want to talk about that today. So, what do I want to jump into first? Maybe we just jump right into that. So, let's just go ahead and jump right into some lore talk as we start designing. Oop. Hi. So let's just get right into that, and we'll start talking about some of our lore stuff. When talking about the history of the empire, we need to start with a young man. Now, this young man, he lived in a kingdom about 2 or 3 days horseback ride away from the desert. He was a young man, as I said, but he was also intelligent, industrious, and creative. And, at the time, a mage. His intelligence and his creativity soon became noticed, and as such, he was elevated to an advisor position in the king's court. He was not the only wizard appointed to the king's advisories. There was a number of other wizards that collectively were called the council. Now, the other wizards on this council, they were wiser than our protagonist, shall we say. And some definitely felt that this young man was elevated too quickly, and he didn't have the prerequisite wisdom that one of his rank should require. Now, this kingdom, shortly after our young man was elevated to the Council of Wizards, it fell upon a period of peace. And as such, there were several times where the king seemed to grow bored during some of his council meetings, during his meetings with his advisors. And so one day he asked if anyone had something to show him, some trick that they wanted to show the king. And our young man, who fell prey to a common young men problem, arrogance. He was confident that he would be able to perform a piece of magic that many of his other council members were wary of. And they wanted to ban this piece of magic outright. So our young man went about preparing for this trick, for this magic, but he had to do it in such a way that the other members of the council wouldn't know what he was trying to do. And so, as it happens, it went wrong. He didn't do it right. And people died. And as a result, he was kicked off the Council of Wizards. But the king wasn't happy with that. He felt he deserved a bigger punishment. And so, he exiled him to the desert, saying that he would never be able to leave the desert again. And so, this young man was escorted over to the desert and was set free and left to wander the desert for the rest of his days. And he did. He wandered and he wandered and he wandered until at the point of dehydration and of starvation and at the edge of death, he found an oasis, a little one, not much, but he slowly gained his strength back. He was able to find some water and find a little bit of food. And due to his industriousness, he was able to figure out a way to increase his water supply, to be able to retain some of the water that fell into the desert instead of just the sand draining it all away. And so, along the way, he figured out a way to grow a few trees. And that was his proof that life could live in the desert. And so, slowly, ever so slowly, over time, his little oasis grew and grew, and it attracted some more people until it was eventually a small village. Now, some traders would come along, and they would try to trade with the people in this village, but they would always find, well, a hard trade, shall we say. The people in this village didn't really like giving away much of anything, even if that meant that their lives were harder as a result. But, well, over time, they managed to figure out how to be self-sufficient. And so, this village waned some in the sense of the importance of the area. And the exile, he ended up dying. His son then took over the course of the village, and under his son's rule, the village grew into a bigger town and it became a little bit more prosperous. They allowed the merchants to have a little bit more free reign, and for a while there was prosperity until some of the monsters started showing up. There wasn't much talk of the event here in the desert, in the Empire. Well, what soon would become the Empire. But eventually, they saw some evidence of it. They saw some zombies walking around. They saw some skeletons walking around. Unknown monsters in the dark. And so, they set up to protect themselves. They set up to defend themselves. And slowly, their town grew into a city. Not because it's a good place to stop and grab some water and as a way station to the next city to go and trade in, but as a place to stop and to stay for the night and to be protected. And indeed, a place to go to ask for aid in order to defend other places in the area. This is when they started to become known for some of their military. And then, shortly after, the exile's son died. And what took his place was known as the Triumphant. There was 3 leaders then One of the leaders was heavy into the military. He used to be a general, and he knew that their city wouldn't survive very long against some of the horrors of the night unless they prepared and created some defenses. That's when the walls were created, and that's when the military prowess of the city really became known. The second man of the triumvirate was known as the treasurer. His only goal was to increase the wealth and the prosperity of the kingdom. He would do so at any cost. His only goal, his only thought, was to increase the value of the treasury in the empire. The third man, he had a slightly different disposition. He was more of a classic politician, you might say. His only thought and his only goal was to increase the splendor, shall we say, of the empire, because in his mind, it didn't matter how much money you had in your vault if nobody knew that you had that much money in your vault anyway. He didn't overly care about the military, only as far as if he needed something pushed over or he needed to intimidate another nation, then he could use the empire to do it. Well, the military to do it. And so he started building a few monuments, a few of the more splendor items in the city. Items, I should say buildings in the city, including the giant Emperor's Tower, which we haven't built yet. But yeah, together, they definitely increased the empire's standing among the other nations in this world. Some of their neighbors absolutely hated what was going on in the empire, and some of them, well, they tried to use the empire for military protection and to stave off some of the attacks by the horrors in the night. The triumvirate didn't last very long, despite how much building there happened and how much the treasury increased and how large the military got. Infighting got the better of them. But instead of one out of the three coming out, none came out at the end. Instead, a lone man ended up taking over and declaring himself emperor. And so, the empire was truly begun. And that was a brief introduction to the history of the empire. There is some more, and we'll probably talk about some of it here now. But yeah, that is kind of the history of the empire. Started from the exile, and then the city grew. Then there was the triumvirate, which built the Emperor's Tower, which we still haven't built, and then the walls. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of some of the lore stuff that we do, because I think it's interesting, and yeah, I'd be interested in hearing your guys' thoughts on some of the lore that we do here. But speaking of lore, we should probably talk about the tree behind me, shouldn't we? So this tree is the tree that the exile first planted and first grew when he was stuck in the desert, didn't have any water, didn't have any food, and he just needed essentially a proof of concept that he was able to get something to grow in here and he would be able to survive. I don't know if equate is going to be the right word, but I kind of correlate this to the white tree at Gondor from the Lord of the Rings. Obviously, I think there's some differences with all of the history that is behind the tree of the white tree at Gondor. And this tree is essentially just, a tree of historical importance, maybe. But I wouldn't say that there's any magical qualities about this tree at all. But it's definitely seen better days, and it isn't necessarily growing anymore. The people of the Empire have kind of let it, just be by itself. And as they've done that, it's kind of started not doing so great. How about that? So yeah, I really like this. I might come through and put like some half slab sandstone down to kind of ease this transition between down here and up here. Yeah, so there's definitely more that I can do with this area, and I probably will at some point. But I think that's for a later day. The other thing that I wanted to show you is this is probably going to be our permanent nether portal for the Empire. I wanted it, a little bit in a different position than that one, and that one's definitely a temporary portal. So yeah, I decided since we're in the Empire and we have that gold farm that we should highlight some of the gold. We should highlight the quartz since we have the mason towers way over there. I just kind of threw in the iron because it felt like kind of a right block, being industrious and having the iron farm. So yeah. And then I really like the crying obsidian that I kind of sprinkled into the portal design. And now the only thing that's left is, of course, to light the portal. Yeah, I'll go do that in the nether here shortly. And I will take down our temporary portal over there. Since we are not going to be in the Empire next episode, I think there's really only one other thing that I want to talk about today and work on today. And that's this over here, the slime farm. I think what I will end up doing is I will end up putting in our water flush system so that we can turn on and turn off the slime farm. Because if memory serves, we have an entirely full chest. Okay. I was expecting like up to here, maybe. But no, we have a full chest there. How full is this guy? That guy's completely full. Hello. How are you? Just don't mind me. Yup, I think we've been full for a while. Yeah. So, yeah. Let me put in the sides on both sides. I'll have to put in, I think I'll just do fences in here. That way the water doesn't flow down into here. Then the slimes never die. The ones that spawned as we're turning it off. So yeah, and I'll have to move my water elevator. I'll probably just move it over there. All right, so I've got some stuff to do ahead of me. Now I'll see you guys in a little bit. functional part of our slime farm is now complete. And if we head on over here, you can see that we have water covering up all, well, this layer is the one that you can see. If we look here, all of the other layers have water flowing over it. And it's just controlled by a simple lever down below on that side, down over there. So we can just flip it on and off and have, we just have sticky pistons holding a block of, just a block. So we can either lift it up and have the water cover the layers, and then that'll mean the farm is turned off. Or we can lower the pistons, and then that'll block the water from flowing, and we have a block of space for the source water to be held back. Then that'll allow slimes to spawn in here, and we can harvest some more slimes. So yeah, if we come over to our ender chest, we have a shulker with all of our slime blocks in there, and you can see we have about 11.5 stacks of slime blocks now. Oh, it is 12. Okay, we have 12 stacks of blocks of slime. Yeah, that'll be pretty good. I'm pretty excited about that. So yeah, that's kind of why I like to have an on-off switch for my slime farms, because 12 stacks of slime blocks. I don't think I'm going to use all of that anytime soon. Yeah. And by having a way to turn this slime farm off, that means if we want to run our, main hostile mob farm, it'll actually run better and faster because, we don't have mobs spawning in the slime farm. So yeah. Speaking of mobs, I had an idea. So I have a data pack in this world that allows me to get some drops for random mobs' heads. So I was thinking maybe we take a dragon head, maybe we take a magma cube head, blaze head, a husk. Let's take a wither. That was from when we killed the wither to get the beacon. Let's grab a slime, maybe. Well, maybe not a slime. Maybe not. Let's grab a phantom head. Spider head. And then maybe a piglin head. Yeah, I think that's what makes sense. And then I think a great place to put it is actually here in the gate. See here, we have 8. Let's put wither there. Then maybe we bracket it with the dragon head. Then phantom. Let's put magma cube there. Blaze there. We have 3 left. Let's put the piglin there. Let's put spider there and the husk there. Yeah. And that way when people are walking through here, they can see all the heads, and it'll be kind of like a intimidation, We're so powerful. We've killed and mounted these mobs on our wall. Yeah. I think that makes sense. I think that's cool. So, yeah. I think that'll pretty much be it for the episode today. As I've been saying a couple times throughout this episode, next episode, we will probably start here, but we will certainly not end here in the Empire. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.